Absolutely, folks, it's the illusion of choice! You know, I like dropping what I call truth bombs. Or indeed a truth-clear strike. Yeah, it was good. Right. This is wow, that's a lot of possible subjects there. I like this one, though. This is kind of neat. Yeah, let's go with this. I like this. This is interesting. This is from Simon TVE, also known as Slimful Sim, aka Okinia, level 80 Tauren Druid on Argent Dawn EU, and he says this. Dear oh lord, that is the worst spelling of Total Biscuit I've ever seen. Dear Toatal Biscut. There's 2 words. I should have you hung, drawn, and quartered for that. Dude, I was just thinking as I was listening about the blue posts about Professor Putricide, and I was just thinking about how they were horribly drip-feeding everything, and thought to myself, has this ever happened before? Wrath seems to be all over the place in terms of failures and successes. Do you think that Blizzard could be experimenting at the moment in terms of what they can and cannot do? Or am I just being too optimistic about this whole affair? And a shout out to Canary, my brother, on Argent Dawn EU. Right. I think the idea that it's just Wrath that's an experiment is kind of short-sighted, mainly because it's an MMO. And it's also uncharted territory for Blizzard. Now, Blizzard can pick and choose all of the influences they want from previous games, but that does not mean that they're going to get the right answer every time. And at the end of the day, they're eventually going to move into territory that has not been covered before. We're looking at stuff like the raid-heavy nature of WoW, which has not occurred in any other game. There is more raid content in WoW than there is in any other MMO, and that is a fact. It is more accessible than it is in any other MMO, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a fact. And what does that mean? Well, that means that Blizzard are going into uncharted territory and they have to innovate themselves for a change. Indeed, 100% mana regeneration. So, what do? Well, they've got to experiment, and they've got to make decisions, and you know what? They're not going to be right 100% of the time. Now, to say that Wrath is a test bed, well, I don't know. It seems to me that Wrath is a response to what they saw as a prevailing attitude in the player base. To be fair, that attitude is also partially their fault. We've got the entitlement complexes in terms of accessibility to raids, and in terms of epics. Things like the removal of achievements, which I still support to this very day, I might add. It was campaigned for in the show, it happened. Simple as that. A lot of other people said they wanted achievements removed, and I completely support the removal of achievements. Why create artificial barriers? Why not simply create natural skill-based barriers to overcome, and nothing more than that? Why waste people's time? That's my argument. So, that's cool. But in removing these attunements, they gave access to people that would not otherwise have gotten it. We're talking about people wandering into Black Temple and people wandering into SSC and TK that did not, beforehand, have the skill to beat the previous bosses. Now, what does that mean? Well, normally I'd say, well, that's fine, because they're just going to wipe and learn their lesson. They didn't. I just said, that's fine. They're going to improve. They're going to get better. They're going to overcome these obstacles. They didn't. What happened was they believed that the content was broken. They believed that the content was too hard. They believed it was tuned for the minority and that their interests were not being catered to. So what did they do? They complained, and they whined, and they screamed, and they snivelled on the forums. And eventually, Blizzard gave in. What did they do? They nerfed everything by 30%, and they also provided Black Temple and Sunwell level gear for running heroics. Yes, I kid you not. Badges of justice, folks. Or as I like to call them, the badge of injustice, the start of this nonsense. And of course, when they got to Wrath, well, they couldn't go back on that, could they? No. This is the problem. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. They got a taste. They got a taste of this sweet raiding and these sweet epics, and they wanted more. And what would happen if they were suddenly denied when they got to level 80 and suddenly they run into a brick wall of hard content again, with attunements and all that other nonsense? Well, what do you think they'd do? They'd whine, they'd scream, they'd snivel, they'd complain, they might even quit. Shock horror. We know Blizzard cannot survive with a mere 11,999,997 players. No! They must have 12 million. That's second yacht for Bobby Kotick, folks. So, What did they do? Well, they appeased. It's unfortunate because for all that was wrong with the first 6 months of Wrath, they really got it right with the badge system. They tiered the badges. Makes perfect sense. Everyone gets some epics, depending on the level of content they're doing. It's good, right? Yeah, it was fine for a while. Fine with Emblems of Conquest. That was okay. It was okay in Old War. It was okay all the way through to 3.2, in fact, when they decided, no, we're just going to give everyone Conquest. What? And then, of course, now everyone gets Triumph. What? Nonsense. Total, complete, utter nonsense. You see people in Tier 9 that don't even know how to play their class. Why? Because, hey, it's easy to face roll through a heroic and AoE everything, right? Now, is that an experiment? Or a response to the players? I don't know. I think it's a bit of both. I think that Blizzard are always experimenting with certain aspects of the game. They have to make changes. They've got to try and respond to what they see in their statistics. If they see that an instance is not being cleared by enough people, then they fear that people are going to drop their subscriptions. They feel that these people believe they're not being catered to in a correct manner. They're not being given the content that they paid for, so we must give them access to that content. Let's make it easier. However, what you must not discount is the number of lessons that Blizzard can learn from making these mistakes. Now, everything I've seen about Cataclysm so far indicates to me that they're going to learn from an awful lot of Wrath mistakes. I may be wrong. I may be entirely wrong. It may be a disaster of unmitigated proportions. It may be absolutely abysmal. Cataclysmic, in fact, for the game and its development. It could be, but from what I've seen so far, it looks pretty good. Now, I never thought that about Wrath. And indeed, you think I'm lying? You think I'm just pretending to be prophetic? Then go back. Go all the way back and find me one time when I got really excited and said, Wrath's gonna be awesome! No, I am underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed the entire way, and hey, look what happened. But the impressions I'm getting of Cataclysm are very positive. So yeah, you could say Wrath is a giant experiment, just as TBC was a giant experiment, just as Vanilla was a giant experiment, and just as Cataclysm will be a giant experiment. It builds on top of each other. It tries different things to see what works. It's risky, of course. Always is. When you make drastic changes, things can go horribly wrong. People can quit. Games can collapse. I've seen it happen before. Look at Star Wars Galaxies. Massive great overhaul. Let's experiment. Oh, we just killed our game. Let's change it again. Oh, we killed it again. It's even worse now. Plenty of MMOs have done that. Plenty of normal games have done that. It's pretty terrible. Should they be experimenting, though? Yeah, they should be. It's kind of a shame they couldn't do more experimenting outside of the live servers, but hey, what do you know? They've made a lot of mistakes, but there's also been a lot of good stuff to come out of this expansion. Hard modes are a good thing. 10 and 25-man modes, they're a good thing. Look at the way that they've made classes all individually useful. That's a good thing. The homogenization not so good, but they've done a good job of balancing out the classes in PvE so that they're all equally desirable in some form or another. The LFG system, that's a good thing. They improved crafting quite a bit. The badge system was initially a good thing, and then they broke it. New Battleground, that's a good thing. And indeed, laying the groundwork for Battlegrounds to be taken seriously in Cataclysm with rated Battlegrounds. Earning arena points for Battlegrounds. I will so do that! I'm excited about that, I'm thrilled. We've had some really cool mechanics. We've had the introduction of vehicles, which for better or worse was at least a new mechanic. There's been an awful lot of stuff. Some good, some not so good. But that's always the way when you think about it. There are some good fights, there are some bad fights in every expansion. They've got to learn, they've got to progress that way. And eventually they will bring us an instance that is nigh on perfect. Old War was nigh on perfect. Bit long, but it was pretty damn good nonetheless. Now, if they can build on the success of Old War, then that's good. There were a couple of cool fights in TOGC. Pretty good. So, yeah, they're experimenting, without a doubt. And I'm hoping it's leading towards a brighter future, a future where the game is more enjoyable. They've got stiff composition coming. I don't want to put a curse on the game, but hey, Star Trek Online's kind of cool. Yes, I've played it. It's pretty good. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how they respond to their competition. Big threat, perhaps, from the Old Republic. Big threat. Very popular franchise, very good developer. A lot of marketing behind it. There's going to be an awful lot of money behind that game, that I can guarantee. And that, of course, is going to push people, and it's going to, more importantly, push Blizzard to look at what exactly they've been doing with the game and how they can make it better in order to compete. Because those other people are going to be looking at that game and thinking, that looks pretty nifty. That looks pretty neat. My name is Toatal Biscut. You have been listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. If you do not like ranting, I would strongly suggest you do not tune in to any future shows. Indeed, why the hell are you here in the first place? I can't imagine. Get your shoutouts to me, themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Or you can tweet me. Sounds dirtier than it is. At Toatal Biscut. That is @Toatal Biscut. Alternatively, send me a message on IRC. That's irc.quakenet.org. # or pound WC Radio. As an answer to the question in the channel, the person who's making Star Wars Old Republic is BioWare, who indeed can mostly do no wrong. Sending you shoutouts, folks, the last few minutes of the show, and to answer the questions, yes, there will be a show next week. There will be shows all the way up until I migrate over, and indeed there will not be any interruption. Oh no. Right, a shout out to BGMC and Grolshan Minerlot of Scrooge McDuck Industries LLC on Eve. I don't think you're RPing. In fact, I think you're breaking the RP. Can I get a shout out to Felon Miles? I've got a torn furry ear for him. Slaughter the furries, you say? There we go, there's a portion of my listenership irrevocably pissed off. Shout out to Dark Rage on Doomhammer EU, that's from Ragavale. Can I get a shout out to Sam Thor, who's listening into his first live show today? That's from Mihailo Jezik. I don't know what his in-game name is. A shout out to Dark with the Skies. You guys were great to raid with, that's from Limus. A shout out to Red Star for getting new Tyranids pre-release, and to 18-month-old Luku, who's enjoying waist-high snowfall. Sounds dangerous, what can I say? What other shout-outs have we got? Plenty coming in thick and fast as it happens over the IRC channel, as they always do. A shout-out to Sugart on Frostmate EU for not tuning in live, or tuning out live. I'll need to make him listen to more podcasts. Yes, podcasts, folks, as opposed to poguecasts. Nothing worse than that. From Zushi, Draenor EU, there's the Pogue fans gone. How many more people can I piss off today? Let's find out. I'm sure we can work on it. Can I get a shout out to Sons of Lichers? That's good, I like that. On Agamagaman on EU from Devlin. Good news, everyone. Shout out to pop culture references in WoW. That's from Storm Tamer. A shout out to my headset for dying on me today, and to me for failing to find a soldering iron to repair it. That's from Azimi, our paladin tank in Dark of the Skies. Shout out to TNT, the dynamite. A TNT, they're completely I can't say that on air. Yeah, they are terrible. As it happens. I waited weeks and weeks to get my new PC parts. They're finally here. I can build my new rig. It's gotta be awesome! Yes, those asking about the stats. How about an E8-400 overclocked to 4 GHz? How about 4 GB of Reaper X? Low latency enhanced bandwidth DDR2. Overclocked to ludicrous levels. How about dual 5770s in Crossfire X? Ah, yeah, it's gonna be delicious, ladies and gentlemen, delicious. Thanks to Bunkerface. Shout out to me for finally get it's over 9,000, and a salute to WC Radio for having been epic. And Ancient Prophecies on Argent Dawn EU, that's from Thuran. Shout out to me for tuning into the live stream for the first time, and to Serious Sam HD from Stinson, which doesn't actually work very well for me, unfortunately, I don't know why. A shout out to Hemisphere Games for Osmos, a steal on the Steam sale, and easily worth the regular price. That's from Te Elite Hacksaw. A shout out to the Reformed Guild After Effect on Frostmane EU, now on Horde. Delicious. Shout out to Simon, my brother, for failing for the first time. That's from Nigel Thornwill. Okay. A shout out, awesome songs today. I'm pretty sure they would. I'm pretty sure everyone hated Crankdat. Shout out to all the guys in Neptulon Progression, Overdrive, Aramar, Effigy, and Zephany. And I want to also say that the songs have been awesome. Thank you for a great show. It's from Psyphil. Can I get an epic drop-in, please? Yes, I did just say. Epic. Yes, you can. One final shout out. It's a birthday shout out, folks. Can I have not one, but 2 shout-outs on my 17th birthday to me and my guild, and Insania Sanctum on Thunderhorn EU. That's from Zitilix. Yes. Yes, in fact, you may. Ladies and gentlemen, I am done. I am out of here. I will be back at the same time next week. Check out the rest of our shows on WCRadio.com and the front page regularly for news on the move. Those of you who are iTunes subscribers, it's very likely that you'll be able to switch over without any effort whatsoever. We're working on that. But worst comes to worst, you know where the site is, circlebrit.com. Please stop breaking it. We need to move it to a bigger server, evidently. You guys are awesome, and also complete vandals. My name is Toatal Biscut. This has been Blue Please. If you don't like it, go listen to a new show. I couldn't care less. I'd rather have 100 honest listeners, 100 intelligent listeners, 100 listeners with integrity ethics and morals than 100,000 sycophants. I'm out of here. Good night.